Welcome to a debate between two Peterson Academy students. The claim on the table is simple. America's biggest problem isn't politics, it's the lack of a shared moral foundation. Everything that follows will test that claim. Our goal tonight is not noise, but clarity. This debate has two sides. The affirmative position argues that America's biggest problem is not politics, but a lack of a shared moral foundation. The negative position argues the opposite, that it's politics that is the biggest problem America faces. Keep these two positions in mind as you listen. Every argument you will hear will connect back to one of these two claims. Before we begin, both sides will steelman each other's arguments. This matters because the point of a debate is understanding, not caricature. If we can state our opponent's position clearly and fairly, we can engage with the strongest version of their case. And this avoids talking past each other. That's where real progress starts. We do this to reveal something important, that we are capable of understanding the other side before we try to defeat it. This debate is not about winning cheap points. It's about showing that clarity and fairness comes first. The rest of the debate will be pretty straightforward. They will then have their opening statements, which will be 5 minutes each, followed up by the rebuttals, which will be 3 minutes each. We'll have a quick moderator Q&A section. They will have 2 to 3 minutes to respond to my questions. And then finally, their closing statements, which they will have 3 minutes to respond. We will begin with the affirmative steelmanning the negative. This means that they will act as if they are smarter and better than their opponent and argue in favor that politics is the biggest problem America faces.
So, if I had to take the negative standpoint, that politics is the main issue for America, I would say that our political system is what regulates these morals. So, political systems go even broader than our moral systems and how they evolve and what the repercussions are. So I would argue that if we renovate the American political system, a lot of our issues will go away because of the ways that parties interact. So a lot of the deadlocks that arise might be resolved by a multi-party system instead of a two-party system, which causes division. And I would imagine that there are other measures that could be put in place so that policies flow easier and go better, which that would be something of what I would say. That's, I believe, the case.
Now, the negative will steelman the affirmative. This means that they will act as if they are smarter and better than their opponent, and they will agree that a lack of a moral foundation is the biggest problem America faces.
Okay, well, let's see. If you believe that the lack of shared morals, well, I mean, what does that say? That everyone has their own, morals that they made up, and it's possible. But I mean, they've talked about that before, Peterson and them. Do away with God, then I'm just gonna make up my own rules. Okay, so you make up your own rules, and then everyone makes up their own rules, and then there's conflict. Great, you know. But I mean, politics. There's some rules here. Humans can actually they create. Of course, it's kind of a wonder. Hey, look, government got some rules. Try them out. Hey, look, they're still around. You know, and then if it's just the lack of shared morals, well, I mean, what are we going to do about that? It's like everybody, you know, same morals. Call it a religion, same government morals. Everyone do this. Almost sounds like Big Brother. Almost sounds like, hey, everyone's the same. Maybe that's not, the solution. And it almost sounds like that's been attempted before. So, I don't. It's almost like going down that path again. Which, again, we're all hopeful. Maybe there is something else. But I mean, politics. We know that there's corruption everywhere, and things tend to fall apart. Hey, fix them up. There's the rules. Everyone can see them. You've got law. Break the law, of course. But I mean, if everyone's out there with their morals, and if we shared them, well, somebody's gonna break it eventually.
Now that both sides have steelmanned each other, I will ask the affirmative if they were fairly represented.
Definitely, it was a good attempt. It wouldn't be my position. Thought through this, but definitely a good attempt. I think, yeah, I definitely would accept that it was a fair geist.
Now I will ask if the negative feels they were fairly represented.
I don't suppose no.
Both sides have now steelmanned each other and confirmed or denied if the other fairly understands the other side's position. Now we will begin with the opening statements. The affirmative will start.
Okay, so my thesis is that the erosion of our shared moral foundations has caused some of America's biggest problems. In the old days, when we used to be more centered on a few belief systems, things were a lot more cohesive. You could agree on what was right and wrong, and things went a lot smoother. So, first, I'm going to make a defense of the argument that we don't have very much in the way of shared moral beliefs. To begin with, I will bring up the controversial Roe v. Wade case, which is a debate on whether a woman has the right to abort her child. Now, it's hard to think of anything more divisional than the right to life. But even this case was overruled in 2022. So even though they already made a decision, society is so tumultuous that they undid this. It's incredible to see how these foundational morals shift around with pretty incredible speed. One would think that a stable society that has shared moral foundations would be able to set rules in place and keep them. This is evidence that you don't have a lot of shared moral foundations. Another one is the George Floyd riots. So when a clip of a black man being abused by a police officer went viral, a lot of people took to the streets. And many of them were rioters who looted and burned in order to satisfy justice. This was a moral cause because justice is a moral cause, but a lot of people had opposing beliefs that this was immoral behavior, that this did not satisfy justice, and that justice should be taken out through normal means of law and order instead of vigilante style. My third point is that these beliefs, these morals, are not merely surface level. They can divide people even on the religious level. My own church, the Lutheran Church, was split over issues like same-sex marriage and abortion into two groups, the Evangelical Lutheran Church and the Missouri Synod, each holding different beliefs and foundational morals. Other churches that have split over such issues like this included the United Methodist Church and the Episcopal Church. So these issues are very divisive and very important to Americans. And Americans don't generally share these same beliefs. Now, these differences in our moral opinions lead to dire consequences. A Pew Research study found that 70% of both Democrats and Republicans view the members of the other party as immoral and dishonest. These opinions can have devastating consequences. One of those is that legislative bodies in the United States become gridlocked, with parties not being able to pass legislature that would address real world problems, so that none of these issues get any care or any effort so that they may be solved, but instead neither party gets anything of what they want. Additionally, it's hard to form social ties, either familial or friendship, when these issues so deeply divide us. Families can have the Thanksgiving dinner phenomenon, where they can't come together even around a shared meal without conflict. Social circles can devolve into canceling and other forms of violence, which can leave people alienated, feeling isolated, depressed. I don't think this is good for any of those involved. But mostly, this leads to a feeling in the general populace where parties are so warring and so demonizing the other people that the idea that if you work hard to get ahead is undermined. We begin to believe that we are the victims of other people and other parties. And so the American dream and the American beliefs are undermined by our lack of shared moral foundations. Thank you very much. That's my argument.
And we will continue to the negatives opening statements.
Alrighty. Well, I mean, I wanted to take note that the argument against me actually involved some actually it involved like kind of what I'm trying to argue for, that there's a problem in politics, and it was mentioned I think about three times, maybe two. So which I'd like to press on that. If the politics were without corruption, maybe just right now as it is, yeah, it's very, you look on the TV and it looks the same. They just keep talking. It's like talking heads. They're just saying the same thing. Of course, they're going to say the same things. We're going to work hard. We're going to fix this. We're going to do that. What if they said otherwise? We're not going to do this. We're not going to do that. But I mean, the actions are that things don't seem to get fixed. Nothing gets done. And it's just the TV. They're still putting it on TV. Yeah, like, oh, everything, we're doing something. And then you see some of our government officials, they're just, they would do what you would do. They'd go on vacation. Like, I don't want to do, I'm tired. I don't want to do this. The problem never goes away. There's always going to be issues within the people, because the people morals, kids are born and like, I'm a menace. Parents, maybe they don't care. Hey, our government doesn't care. I don't care. Kid, you're on your own. Go make your own morals. Go do whatever you have to. And then the parents that do take care, hey, for example, maybe just some Christian families. Hey, kid, we've got rules. Look at this big book of rules. Follow it. You'll be all right. If you don't, good luck. It's pretty hard life. I mean, I've been down that road. So, and well, the morals again. We're kind of a melting pot. People, their morals here, like maybe it doesn't matter. Like over here, our morals are more aligned like this, and then there's conflict. It's like, okay, well, what if we just everybody, hey, they're kind of doing that now in politics. Hey, let's go back to the Bible and under God, and you see turmoil. People are, raising stinks about it. Like, hey, no, what the heck? You can't force the Bible on us. Okay, granted, yeah, that's quite a little radical. But I mean, I think they think too. It's like, hey, if everyone just was under the, you know, United States, God, Bible, almost like the shared moral thing. But at the same time, hey, government, they're trying to do stuff, and maybe that's actually a solution. I mean, they're trying. It's kind of new. I think it's kind of new. But I mean, again, the whole back to politics, the problem is politics. People, the morals, never ending, it never ends. It's always going to be new generation, their morals are like this, the old generation, you know, fair enough. It's I mean, the politics, governments, we look at, if you don't look at God, you look at our people on TV, again, talking heads. And if they're actually doing like, wow, amazing things, I think that'll kind of, keep people on the right track. So again, politics. We kind of know what it's like. We kind of know it needs work, which I think is agreed. I think everyone I meet, they're saying that, yeah, everything's corrupt, everything, fix this. And even the government themselves, like, hey, there's a lot going on, needs to be fixed. But I mean, if you touched on population and the morals, it's like okay, what shared morals are we going to do? And then there goes the free for all. Like, well, I need to get all the wealth in the world, or I need to get all this stuff for free. Okay, so maybe the answer is a shared moral foundation. But I mean, how is that possible? And if it did happen, like, what would it look like? Almost sounds like paradise, or maybe like heaven. But I mean, that's not going to happen here in our world, in the way we live. But I mean, you read the Bible and it's like, wow, there's just some stuff in here that kind of tells you about that too. So, which I mean, hey, I'd be hopeful if that was the answer. But I mean, if we start with politics, we can see like, hey, there's a possibility, there's some light. It happened in our government. What if it happened, below or above it?
Fantastic opening statements from both sides. Now we'll begin the rebuttals. The affirmative will start.
Let me see. So you mentioned that a lot of people in politics, being certainly human, can feel overwhelmed by their job, so might not feel really motivated to make progress. Seems that the thread it goes something like government has gotten so big, the nation has gotten so big, so many people, that just the problem is huge for certainly a federal government to manage this. But I don't believe that these problems can be easily resolved by lowering the legislative decision making to smaller groups of people. Because whereas during the Civil War, it was generally the South versus the North, nowadays it has a lot more to do with urban versus rural. So I don't think that in politics we can easily sort out our morals so that one group of people can just have their own legislation, another group of people can have their own governmental body. Not a bad idea, but I don't believe that's the case. You also mentioned maybe a live and let live attitude. Like if we didn't try to impose like the Bible people, that there would be a lot less conflict. And though I think this is valid to some degree, I believe that you can't have a nation where everybody kind of gets their way at the same time. Like for instance, immigration. You can't have a live and let live attitude with immigration. Either immigrants come in or they don't, or something in the middle. It's kind of not easy to compromise on those kind of issues, including national security and also federal spending are not easily negotiated by everybody do what they like, especially when it has a societal impact. Let's see. Yeah, I think those are my rebuttals.
And now the negative.
Let's see. Well, politics, I mean, the way it is, say if officials did what they said they were going to do, and like they finished a job, they completed it, and it's all done and taken care of. Like, what now? Oh well, I did all I was going to do. Where are some more problems? And then imagine if all the problems get done. Okay, well, I mean, now what? What's politics for? Well, it'd kind of be like, whatever population, kind of like what was it? When the lost the people in the desert, they're asking, hey, we need some rules. There's all kind of stuff going on. So they ask for it. It goes up there to God, Jesus, or no, not Jesus. I believe it was Noah. Anyway, he goes up there. Yeah, talks to God. Like, hey, what do we do? Like, here's the rules. Take it to them. Here's the rules, guys. Follow them. It's like, okay, here they are. Now, granted, here we are still, and it's like a never-ending thing where, like, there's the rules, but we're not going to follow them, but they're there. So it's infinite. Again, like the government, like politics. When will we not need them? They do what they say they're going to do. So, but if it's about shared morals, it's almost the same things. Okay, where everyone has their shared morals. I know what to do. I know what you're going to do. I know what not to do. What do we do now? Like, we're done. And then what happens? Someone's gonna break the rules. Because why? Just like Jordan says, if you're in paradise, all I have to do is eat cake and just, populate the world. You're so bored that you cause trouble, where, maybe you'll even invent trouble. It's okay, now here we go again. Here goes cycle once again. There's problems. Government, what do we do? Hey, go back to God. Hey, what do we do now? Okay, so it sounds never ending, but I mean, that's what it's there for. Hey, politics, if there wasn't any of that, what's going to happen to everybody? Again, I kind of press on that. What do we do? Well, I'm the one in charge here. Like, no, I'm the one in charge here. I'm the one in charge here. Just imagine what'll happen.
Now we will begin the Q&A section of this debate. I will ask each side a question. My question for the affirmative side is, if the biggest problem is a lack of shared moral foundation, what practical steps would you propose to reestablish that foundation?
That's a good question. I think, as my opponent has mentioned, it is tough to get people to agree on a relatively single system. So certainly there's no easy answer for this. But there is some way out. I believe that a lot of this trouble is caused by the ever-increasing technological evolution of social platforms, where algorithms sort people into like-minded groups that become echo chambers and fuel divergent moral courses. I think a lot of our way out of this is developing a new ethos around how we come together as a society and how we treat our online life. Because in the old days, whereas someone might have a certain belief that was divergent from the general course, let's just say maybe like a manosphere person, their society, their community is generally going to keep them kind of in line, especially in the days like in 1950s when half of the nation went to church regularly. Your community is really going to regulate your beliefs. But now that we've kind of gotten away from that, online with the anonymity, being anonymous, and just being able to group with like-minded individuals, that can fuel a lot of this, in my opinion. So I think a way forward is that we develop a new ethos for using the internet, maybe come back to grassroots. I don't know if it's a political action or a more general action, but we come back to grassroots communities and that through these communities that they can establish morals and maybe even move away from each other. I don't know what kind of regional change would occur, but certainly when our morals and our ideas are all up in the cloud, there's a lot more room for conflict and misunderstanding than when they are on the ground and with real people. So I believe that that's my answer to your question.
And now my question to the negative position. If politics is the central problem, what specific political reforms do you believe would realistically unify the country despite ongoing moral disagreements?
Specifically, well, I think in the politics, everyone's just kind of making things as they go, making it up because no one knows exactly, what's going on or what should be done. And you might have people that think they know and they'll try it out and, hey, kind of worked, maybe not. They'll try something else. Someone has an idea, but at the same time, usually the ones with the great ideas, they'll get drowned out. They'll get shoved aside because politics isn't where it should be, and everyone just wants the pretty face on the TV telling them everything's okay. A lot like when a child like, oh, I got hurt. Mom's there to say it's okay, don't worry about it. And that's just, I think Jordan's touched on that about how what the world's kind of like a teenage girl, kind of they want something, they want to be told something, and I mean, what do you want to maybe what you want to see on TV is like, hey, we want the truth, and people have to like, no, that's not true. There's this conspiracy. They have to do their own homework, and then okay, well, look what just happened in the last few years. Yeah, the media is being controlled. People are controlling things. They're hiding stuff. They're hiding the truth. And what does that cause? Just confusion. Everyone's confused. You know, how how productive is that? And what's going on? Why isn't there a change? Well, again, what if somebody went on there, told the truth, and what happens when you tell the truth? You get silenced. So people are afraid, and you've heard that before in every argument, in every sort of people saying, "I didn't want to say anything because I'll get in trouble." Afraid to speak, and then corporations, just about everyone says, "Hey, it's okay, you can talk to us here." But I mean, half the time there's corruption still everywhere, and they're gonna quiet the case so that the corporation looks good, and that things keep going on. I guess it's a facade. So, and then the people, again, social media. Hey, talk about social media. Hey, there's some truth coming out too. Granted, the social media recipe is to get a bunch of narcissists to do talk for free and put pictures for free and do all this. So that's kind of like, oh, so that's how it becomes a thing. But I mean, again, back to the whole, hey, honesty, want the truth. A lot of people don't want to hear it. They want to live fantasy lives, hear, fake stuff. They rather, like Peter Pan, just live in a fantasy world. They forget the truth.
Now we will begin the closing statements. We will begin with the negative side.
Well, I want to close with, this has been great. I think first time doing this actually, and again, what I want to talk about is, I mean, politics. There's problems there. There's problems everywhere. Again, as Jordan's pointed out, all his work, all everyone's working towards. Like, look at what you're dealing with. Look at what you don't want to look at. Apply it everywhere. I think I mentioned on the comments at Abuse Academy about you read the Bible, read it, and you'll see it. Everywhere you go, you wake up, go through life, you go to work, you see it happening right there. People are just talking like, hey, are you all right? Yeah, I'm all right. They're probably not all right, but what's going to happen? They tell the truth. Those that will help them will, but I mean, half the time it's just like, well, it doesn't matter. No one's really going to do anything about it. We're all going through this. So, again goes the facade. Again goes life in a way. Is it politics? Politics has been kind of going up and down lately, and there's been some change. People are talking about it, which is pretty amazing. You know, I think with social media now, people can like see the news and see what they want to see. Like, hey, what's going on? It's like, wow, that's actually happening. That's real. Half the time I'm busy and I don't see like all these new changes, but I think everyone's on board on the same page that anything can happen. That's pretty big. That's a pretty big deal, and everyone knows because we're all kind of caught up in a way. Hey, we got the internet. We can look up anything. We're all on the same page now. Like, hey, what are we gonna do about this? What are we gonna do about that? Say, well, this is gonna happen with that. This is what we're working on. Stay tuned, focus, help if you want. I think people can donate money or they time or efforts. I think that's pretty great. We can do we community wise we can get things done, and we do. We try. And as far as the politics, I think again that's been a forever issue. When you get comfortable and you just say, hey, if I do what I'm going to do, then I'm out of a job. I'm done here. I get kicked out. I go looking for problems, or even some people create problems. So I emphasize politics, just like a lot of people do. But even in in the morals, even with people's morals. But that's what community comes in, like he was saying. Hey, where are we at? Join us on this shared stuff. Like, hey, we'll take care of each other. There's some golden rules. There's the Bible. There's lots of information. We're all trying to be civil, and those who aren't, well, I mean, I think it's case by case.
Now we continue to the affirmative's final words.
In closing, I want to take my argument a step further. That having shared moral foundations is a good, but good moral foundations that are shared is even better, and they are much more important in politics. Jordan Peterson once analyzed the Lion King, and the lion standing on top of the stone represented the thing that makes culture. It's apart from the rigid hierarchies of the stone, but it is greater than that because it produces all of this. And I'll say that though politics do have an important impact on human welfare, with systems like communism being objectively worse, no matter where it's tried, I think that politics can't account for everything. Just take countries' productiveness. America is the powerhouse in the Americas, greater than Mexico, certainly Venezuela, Argentina, Canada. And I think that beyond our political ways, our political system, which is generally shared by many American countries, it is our culture and our shared moral foundations that value hard work, trust, goodwill, helping your neighbor that make us flourish. Take Germany. Though Germany, they did try to conquer Europe, it is something to see that their moral culture of valuing hard work has enabled them even now to support the entirety of the European Union, possibly along with France. But cultures such as Greece, such as Ireland, and even a lot of southern culture, such as found in Mississippi, that does not value hard work and morals, does not flourish, that doesn't value the morals of productivity, does not flourish despite their politics being very similar to countries that do flourish. So I would like to use as an example that politics flows from our moral foundation and our values. And as my opponent said, I am delighted to be on this debate, and I'm very happy to be part in a endeavor of truth seeking. Thank you very much.
A fantastic job from both debaters here. Thank you to both sides for a thoughtful exchange. That concludes the debate, and thank you to everyone listening.